Ariel Helwani here for mmarated.com at the American Kickboxing Academy in San Jose with the most talked about man in MMA in the last 24 hours, Jon Fitch. So, Jon, I'll start off. I hear there's a new breaking development in this story, so give it to me.
Communication kind of broke down with Dana, so we talked to Lorenzo, just got off the phone with him a little bit ago, straightened some things out, and came to an agreement. So we're going to move ahead, and I believe I'm going to be back in the UFC.
So you're back. Yeah. After all that, you are back in the UFC.
That's the case. We're going to sign off on the video, and I'm back. So
what was the sticking point? I mean, what changed between yesterday and today?
Like we said before, it was never even about the agreement or the contract. It was nothing. We had a problem with that. It was the approach that we felt that Dana was a little hot-headed and was threatening us right off the bat, and it didn't seem like a professional way to do things. So that was the big reason why we didn't sign off.
Have the terms of the agreement changed between yesterday and today?
No, and we never had a problem with the terms of the agreement. We were asking to renegotiate, but after talking to Lorenzo, it's not a big deal. More or less, it's just
getting a phone call there. Sorry. No problem.
What was the question again?
The question was, have the terms of the agreement changed? Because obviously a lot of people were saying that maybe you didn't want to sign your life away, so to speak. So now just trying to figure out why things are different 24 hours later.
The reason for that is it was never really about the agreement. It was about the way Dana approached us with the agreement. It didn't seem professional, and we didn't want to sign off on being treated that way. But we talked to Lorenzo. He explained the agreement further. The video game, it's not a big deal. It's not like I've got video game companies knocking down my door to do video game deals with me. So a lifetime exclusive, it's not a big deal. And Dana gave us his word, or Lorenzo gave us his word that it's not a permanent thing. If we ever did want to leave, there's a possibility that they would allow us to leave and do something else. So it was never about the agreement. It was about the way it was brought to us.
And in the last 24 hours, Dana has actually echoed those sentiments that it wasn't about the agreement and that he's had some issues with the gym itself and that it's been more of a management issue. So does this mean that everything's cleared up between the UFC and AKA?
That's the thing is like Dana can't really blame the management for all this because they had been telling me from the beginning to sign off. But we, the fighters, felt that it was inappropriate the way they were talking to us. There might be miscommunication, whatever. But yeah, that was the whole principle of the whole thing. It was just we didn't want to be talked to in that way.
Now everything's done. You look back on the last 24 hours. Do you wish things could have been handled a little differently? And really, ultimately, does this change your relationship with Dana White?
I never had that much of a relationship with Dana in the first place. We've spoken briefly throughout my career, but I've actually spoken more with Lorenzo. Especially lately. So, as long as we have someone to go to and somebody to decipher what's going on, it'll be a big help.
All right, and so let's talk some good news. UFC 94, is it official you'll be fighting Akihiro Gono?
Hopefully, yeah. We haven't worked out all the details, like the dust is still settling, but hopefully that should be the fight.
When you think back now, the last 24 hours, now we're talking about you fighting. Were you worried there for a second, ultimately, that maybe your MMA career could have been over because not a lot of welterweights outside of the UFC, not a lot of options outside of the UFC, and now things have changed on a dime here in the last 24 hours?
I've had to fight up in weight class before just to find fights because, early in my career, I couldn't find anybody to fight me at 170. If I would have to put on some weight and fight other places, go to Japan, I'm a good fighter. I sell tickets. I was not worried in one bit. But UFC is my home. It's where I want to fight. So, that was a little heartbreaking to be released in such a hurry.
Right. How many times has the affliction called you in the last 24 hours?
Bob has handled a lot of phone calls from a lot of companies, but he told them all just to settle down. We're still talking and let the dust clear first. So, yeah, it's not like we were looking to move on right away.
All right. Well, great news for MMA fans. Jon Fitch is back in the UFC after 24 hours out. Thank you for the time. Answer your phone, and best of luck to you, Jon.
All right. Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me. No problem.